Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It's Thursday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, and with everyone here. I mean, I had to do it, right, CJ?
Yeah.
It's not every day
No,
you get the chance to do that on the podcast, right?
I'm not going to do the voice until Britt gets here because
So Britt and Finn are supposed to be here.
Britt will be here 5 minutes late. Finn was a maybe. So I'm leaving Finn on the call to see if he can show up.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, Finn, if you're out there,
he's driving while on the
right. He's gonna be like, "Hey guys, I'm running from the cops."
He's gonna, guys, I'm in the back of someone's trunk. I've been abducted. Anyway, what are we all playing?
It's gonna be like that found footage, that found cam footage you see in like every movie.
Yeah.
No, it's the dead wife footage and like John Wick, but it's just Finn
2 years from now to be released as a movie. It'll be
footage.
In May 2023, a podcaster went missing while on the road.
And then it's just
2 years later, the footage was found.
It's just him talking about Final Fantasy 6.
Him talking about Final Fantasy with us.
Poor Finn's just an audio log now.
It's an audio
log number 32 for the platinum.
Sometimes I can still hear his voice.
Oh, Finn, we love you.
No, it's like what is it? Doken _shut up.
Yeah.
So, guys, lot to talk about this week. There's been a lot of Xbox stuff happening. Before that, though, who's this? Is it Britt?
Me.
There's Britt. Hi, Britt.
Hey.
Hello.
We will, of course, begin tonight's podcast with what we've all been playing this week, and I'll go first because I'm going to be very, very quick. Because I'm not going to talk about what I've been playing. I've been playing the Pixel remasters, and next week I'll be playing Tears of the Kingdom. I can't fucking believe it.
Oh, hell yeah!
Shit's coming out next year. Next week.
Next year.
Yeah, right.
You just got so used to saying it because of Nintendo.
I do want to say, I do want to mention what I want to be playing, what I'm very excited to be playing, which is the fucking Double Dragon game that got announced out of nowhere today.
Ooh.
That shit looks awesome.
Who's developing it? The Way Forward, or is it did they list it?
I actually didn't see who the developer was.
I didn't see who the developer was. It reminded me visually of Shredder's Revenge. Reminded me visually of Shredder's Revenge and the Scott Pilgrim game.
So it's probably wonder if it's
Secret Base.
That's who's developing it. So it's probably some like collective of like people who worked on these kinds of games before.
Maybe, yeah. I just know that I love beat 'em ups. I love really good beat 'em ups. And
did you play River City Girls too? Because I saw.
Of course,
that's so good.
The second one, I haven't played it yet.
River City Girls has some of like the finest pixel art in the entire medium.
That first game is like incredible.
It's River City Girls is great. This came out of nowhere, right? Like nobody woke up this morning thinking, "Hey, a new Double Dragon game is going to be announced today."
Oh, Modus is publishing it. They did that weird what did they publish last year? That fucking caveman like platformer that was like on the what's it called?
Caveman platformer?
Yeah, Joe and Mac. They published the remake of it last like November.
I was like, for a minute, I was like, caveman play. What the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. I'm not gonna bore you guys with talking about the Pixel remasters again, which I can if you want me to, but you probably don't. But I do want somebody else to talk about the Pixel remasters, and I want to kick it over to Jeff next because Jeff finished Final Fantasy 3 Pixel remasters. First time you've played this, right, Jeff?
I was gonna say I apologize to all the viewers and listeners, but once again I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy.
Sweet. Don't apologize to me.
All the shit I give John. So I mean I've talked about it before. I basically started gaming, like I'm at the right age. Like I'm older than most people on the podcast except John. But I was there for the Super Nintendo era, but I didn't start gaming until the N64 and PS1. So like I just never really played games pre 3D era, and that includes Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy 7 was my intro to the series. I'm like aware of them, but I've never played. Aside from 4, I've played the opening 5 hours of 4 like 4 times. I played it on like the PSP and the Vita. I played the Steam 3D version, and I liked it, and I could tell I liked it. I just never. There was a couple barriers, and I just never really gave it quite the time and dedication. So I have finally played through my first 2 pre-3D Final Fantasy games. I played through 4 first, and I played through 3, and I played through them both in about 11 hours. I'll talk about 4, and then I'll talk about 3. I really liked 4. I think maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to. 4 was a great game, and I liked it a lot. I think maybe my expectations were too high, again, coming from newer Final Fantasy games. And being someone who didn't play a lot of games in the Super Nintendo era, in terms of like the narrative and characters, I maybe expected a little bit more depth, and it sounds like they didn't really get there till maybe 5 or especially 6, when they started to build on the narrative. They're a little bit longer, a little bit meatier. So yeah, it was a pretty basic story. I was a little surprised by that, but once I got over that, of course the music's great, the locations are great. I love the pacing. Especially in 4, the pacing it moves so fast. I couldn't believe how quickly I was at the end of the game.
It's a breezy game, dude.
Yeah. It was really good. It's cool with both these games, coming from someone who's played so much Final Fantasy 14. Obviously, I'm aware that it's kind of a best of or a homage to all the tradition and all kind of throwbacks to all the Final Fantasy games. But playing through 4, which half of Endwalker was almost like a direct adaptation, and obviously with Golbez now in kind of the new content, it's just cool seeing where all that stuff came from, where the music came from, the environments, the inspiration for a lot of the art.
Did it like put a smile on your face every time you heard that music and you're like, oh shit?
Yeah. And especially with 3, which I'll get to. Okay, I'll talk about 3 first, and then I'm going to say why the pixel remasters are so good. So 3, on the other hand, I was not expecting to play any of the original 3. I just learned that apparently people are going to be dicks about it. Apparently 3 is not an NES game. To me, like the first 3 games were NES, the second 3 were SNES.
3 was an NES game.
Okay, somebody told me it never released on the NES. They said it's a Famicom game.
Jesus!
That's an NES, right?
That's
an yeah, that's just the Japanese NES.
Being a dick. I figured they were just going to be even more dated, even more kind of like too bullshit, too difficulty spike for me. So I wasn't going to touch them, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play 3 because like I want to give some of the stuff a chance, and I liked a lot of the things I heard about 3. And yeah, it was really good. I actually think overall I might have ended up liking it more than 4, which I don't know if that's controversial.
It's kind of controversial, but I think there's plenty of good reasons to,
I think, so obviously I mentioned 4 is kind of basic and like narrative and characters, which is why I play these games. 3 even more so because they don't really have names. So there's not a lot of character development, but I love, I guess, the design of the game. It's very different. 4 feels really focused and very small, actually. The world of 3 felt a lot bigger to me, especially you kind of play the opening third or half of the game in like a specific map. And then you fly out of there and there's like a way bigger world with a few other continents that I didn't know was coming. And it was one of those, like, even still, like however many decades later, I'm like, holy fuck, like what just happened?
To this day, Jeff, there is still not a Final Fantasy with that many goddamn airships.
It's ridiculous. I had them all parked beside each other and I'm like, which airship do I need? But no, I really enjoyed the vibes of the game. Obviously, I'm gonna say with every Final Fantasy game, the music was so fucking good. But it was just like light and breezy in a way that a lot of the other games aren't. And it was like, oh, we're at this town, we're at this castle, and it's like there's just all these little like 1 hour stories at every little location. And I like that every dungeon is like 2 or 3 floors. Like I'm in and out of a dungeon in half an hour. There's a little boss and you're on to the next place. And it was just, I don't know, it felt like a really epic journey. You start as like these 4 little orphans, onion knights. And by the end of the game, I'm like a badass summoner and a knight. And I've got like a dragoon and stuff. Like it was just a really cool progression. And then of course, again, being a 14 fan, seeing like how literally the Crystal Tower stuff was adapted from this game with like the labyrinth or the maze. And Zandy and Doga and Une and stuff and of course all the music and that. But so that's what I'm gonna get to. I like these games, but let me tell you, I could say this without even playing them. The original versions of these games must fucking suck. I mean, especially 3. Let me tell you, John knows about this. Let me explain to you the ending of Final Fantasy 3. There's a maze which you have to go through with no save points. Yeah. There are no tents. Unlike every other game, there's not even any ethers, so you have to rely entirely on any elixirs that you've happened to stock up. You go through this maze, and imagine in the original release, you also can't turn off encounters. You get through there to the outside, you go into another dungeon, go through the first floors of that, then you go into another section. There's also an optional sub-dungeon within there with all the best weapons, which you also cannot save in. And then you get to the final area, the World of Darkness. There's 4 more mini bosses. Now, granted, you do get an HP and MP restore after beating each one, but none of this you can save. There's no rest mode for the console. There's no save states. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck happened?
It's the reason I've never. Final Fantasy III is the only one of the first 10 that I've never beaten. And that may change. I'm gonna revisit it with the Pixel Remaster.
It's very good, Derek.
Yeah. If you like 3 this much, Jeff, you really need to play 5, which is in every way just an evolution of what 3 was trying to do.
So, Jeff, tell me if this makes sense. Like I had never played the 2D version of 3. I mean, it was never localized,
right?
Until the Pixel Remaster came out, and I cleared it, and it became one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. And the reason for that is because it feels like JRPG comfort food. There's something very safe and warm and just cozy about this game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I love the vibes. Like, every town, and like, John, like a good JRPG needs good towns, and every town has like a little story attached to it. It's got different residents. It's got like a distinct feel, kind of a distinct look. Like, it's and bullshit aside, I mean, obviously you love JRPGs. I'm guessing you like grinding. Like, obviously people who like that stuff are gonna have a good time here, but I think that's where I heap the most praise on the Pixel Remaster. So both 3 and 4, I played through the entirety of both these games with 4 times experience boost and 4 times Gil. And in both cases, I barely managed to beat the final boss in both of them. And I did not even skip encounters. Like, I didn't do optional grinding, but I wasn't breezing through dungeons without fighting anything. I was like fighting every fight that came my way. And I barely, John knows, he was helping me out with 3. I barely fucking squeaked through at the end.
Tell us about the 2-headed dragon, Jeff. Tell us about the 2-headed dragon.
For some reason, the second last boss in 3 was doing 3,500 damage to every party member when they only have 3,000 HP and one-hitting them. The final boss, her normal attacks do 500, and her like big AoE attack does 1,000 to everyone. A third of the damage as the one before. Like, makes... I'm guessing there's a weakness thing or I don't know. Makes no fucking sense. But I just got to say, like, shout out to the Pixel Remasters for adding these options, because I would never have suffered through this in any other version. And I was able to play and enjoy these games, and I didn't cheat myself and I didn't cheat the game. I just had a good fucking time. So yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say. Like, these are great versions.
It's time for 6 now, Jeff.
I think. Well, I'm saving. I really want to save 6 for the last. I'm sorry, John, but
okay. No,
I think
that's fair.
It sounds like 1 is really short and really like made a lot easier in the Pixel Remat. Derek's giving me a look.
That's one of the games I'm going to talk about is the Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster. So we can talk about that
real quick. Yeah, I'll just say I'm planning to try and get through 1 real quick here. I'll probably take a break. I don't want to burn out, but I also have got the new patch coming for 14 soon. And then 16, I was telling someone earlier, 16 in a month. My plan's just to play Final Fantasy games for the rest of the year.
Yes.
But then I think at some point when I come back, I'm going to play 5, and then I'm going to play 6.
What if I just played a bunch of Square Enix RPGs for like the rest of the year?
Right. It's not a bad call.
What if I just do that?
Jeff, you got to grind those Moogle tombstones, man, before the end of May. You got to grind those tombstones, dude.
I'm probably not going to do that. I don't know. I'll look. Talk to me later. I got to see what that's
Jeff,
about.
Quick question before anything. Have you played every mainline Final Fantasy game post PS1 era?
Yeah, so I've beaten 7.
Mm-hmm.
I have reached the end of 8 twice.
All right.
But not actually beat the final boss.
The last stretch of 8 is so fucking hard, though.
Yeah, it's rough.
I think I told this before, but I spent a few hours grinding on it back in college, and before my friend told me that the enemy scale, it's the only Final Fantasy game where enemy scale. I'm like, I grinded for 5 hours.
So grinding actually makes the game harder.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Kind of like a saga game in that regard.
Yeah.
Man.
So yeah, CJ. So I finished 7. I finished 9. I've also reached the final boss in 10. I think a lot of people know how I feel about that one. Fuck it. Oh my god, we're not talking about 10. We're not friendship. Love most of that game. We're not talking about 10.
I like 10.
10. I like 10. I hate it, but I liked it.
That's the only one I played.
And 12, I beat. Fucking love 12. I played the HD version a few years ago for the first time. Wonderful game. Played 5 hours of 13. I can see why people like it. It's absolute nonsense. Don't like it. I beat 15. It's a hot mess, but I like stuff about it. So I've played 95% of every game since 7. Every main.
Right. Okay. So then now you're dismissing the
going back to collect the rest of them. So.
Cool. before we kick it over to Derek, I do want to address a question from Grant, the journalist in chat. He said, if I were to play Final Fantasy, which one should I begin with? I've played 1. I was joking around and said 2. Don't play 2. Start with 3. 2 is don't. 2's a bad
You guys told me 4.
I think 4. I still stand by 4.
I think 4
John,
is
you
a
told
great.
me 4. John,
I
you
love
told me
4, but I would start. I personally, if
I
you've
bought
never,
4 on your recommendation.
I mean,
How could you
4
let
is
me
a
down?
better game, but I don't know.
To me,
I don't
it's
know.
more a
Like, you
matter
could
of like
argue either one.
4 is a great combination of it's breezy, right? So it's relatively quick to get through.
I hear the story in that one's pretty solid too. That's why
the story is like decent, right? I mean, for like a Super Nintendo era RPG, the characters, many of them have, even if it's very, very simple and the characters don't get a lot of time, most of the characters do have like a beginning, middle, end of their character arc. And their character like mechanics, this is not one of those games where you have to like plan out a build for a character because of the leveling system. There's not a job system. Like Cecil is a Black Knight, right? Until he becomes a paladin. It's a fucking spoiler, right? Like, Rosa is a white mage, and they will just level up and get abilities in that preset class. And you are picking characters based on what role they fill in your team. So I just think 4 is the best place to start at. And I think if 4 really tickles your fancy, like from there you can kind of branch out. Like 3 is a great place to go to. I think 5 is probably better than 3 in every meaningful way. So 5 is a great place to go if you want to experience something that's more freeform with the job system. 6 is obviously like
you have to play 6 last.
Yeah,
you have to play 6 last. Really, just to really appreciate like how far those games came in that time frame. Like I would save 6 for last.
John, I'm curious. What's your favorite of like the post SNES Final Fantasy games? I don't think it's
15, man. Right?
15. I think you 15, said that 15's up in like your top 3, right?
Yeah, 15 and probably
and like 14 if we,
I would say like I don't know, like it's hard to rank at that point, right? Like 15, 13, 9.
Right.
9.
So I'm just gonna say this as your wife, Grant. It's easily got to be Final Fantasy 9 as your first Final Fantasy.
9's a good one.
Because
it's a good pick.
It's cute. It's fun. The battle system isn't the best, but it's still good.
9 has the best characters in the whole franchise, I think.
I would agree with that.
I like the retro designs a lot. I like the cool
I think
except for Amaranth, he has no purpose.
Yeah, but every Final Fantasy game has that last motherfucker.
Where are his eyes?
Every Final Fantasy game has that last motherfucker who joins, who just has no character or personality.
He's got like he's the party's obligatory monk / ninja, but he's got no eyes. Like you see like his weird beard.
What's this dude's name?
And
Amaranth.
Amaranth.
All right, let's look this up.
He's just a weird he's got a weird beard and like these huge red dreadlocks, and he just makes no sense.
Oh wait, hold up! You said
there's
dreadlocks.
so much weirder shit in Final Fantasy.
This dude
9,
is sick as hell, though. What are you talking about, dude?
What's his full name? It's something Amaranth.
Amaranth Coral.
The reason I would say don't start with 9, Britt, is because 9 has a bunch of references from the older games that you won't appreciate if you start with that.
But it's still like I played 9 a few years ago before I played any of these older ones, and it's like one of those things where like if you know it, you appreciate it. But I never ever felt like I was missing anything, and I think it captures a lot of the essence of what Final Fantasy is in a way that like I love 7 and 8, but obviously they're a little bit more modern. People like to call them edgy or whatever. Like 9 just feels like very traditional Final Fantasy in a lot of the best ways.
A good pick. 9's probably my favorite Final Fantasy.
I think the Black Mage is so iconic that you can't not miss that reference. Final Fantasy was my first Final Fantasy that I ever played and beat by myself. But I still knew that the little Black Mage character. I knew I had seen him before somewhere. So it's like
It's like when I played Dragon Quest. I knew that blue slime guy. Like I fucking knew it.
Derek will see that after the podcast is over.
Shit. I'll open my phone.
I'm never unseeing that now. Wow.
We got to get this. I don't know how, but we got to get this into the Twitch chat for everyone else.
So, Derek.
I hate this.
Derek,
anyway.
Derek, did you look on your phone, Derek?
Yeah, I did.
Derek, go
Comment on
ahead,
it.
buddy.
Comment on it. Comment on it.
I got a few games to talk about. And the nice thing is because we only have because we only have like one big topic, we've got time to just go a little crazy and talk too much about Final Fantasy and shit.
Because we never do.
I know.
Never do.
It never happens.
Never talk about
So I was looking for one of the Pixel remasters to play, and I was like, you know what? I'm playing one. So I played Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster. Here's the thing, y'all. I do think people should play Final Fantasy 1. It's iconic, not just for what it did for the Final Fantasy series, but like it's kind of like why I think it's important to play like the Dragon Quest games. The early Dragon Quest games. It's like you're looking at the foundation upon which the modern RPG was built. And there's a lot of charm and a lot of really cool ideas in the original Final Fantasy, and it's relatively short. Asterisk. That game is bullshit. Like Final Fantasy 1 is famously bullshit.
He's not wrong.
Here's the thing. There are points where you can easily, especially against the 4 fiends, or chaos, you can easily be 10 to 20 levels above like the recommended level to fight them and just get the floor wiped with you, because there's so much randomness and variation in Final Fantasy 1, and the mechanics are just very obtuse in a way that like you don't really understand the concept of like how elemental damage works. You don't understand why your character will attack once and do like 14 damage and then attack another time and get like 250 damage. Like there's just such wild variation between your characters at their worst and their best. At any given moment.
Chaos is some bullshit, Derek.
And
Let's
you can
just
get steamrolled by these bosses, because it really doesn't matter how effective your abilities are. They often have the ability to just, absurd amounts of damage. Your characters are all glass cannons, no matter what level they are. So, like, it's good. It's fun to play. It's interesting, but it is a game where I think I recommend most people play it. And do not insist they finish it.
That's fair.
But it is important to play for the purposes of
gaming history,
knowing where it comes from.
Yeah,
right. And it won't take that much of your time to play either. Even if you do intend to beat it, it only took me less than 10 hours.
I was going to say that's a sub 10 hour game.
Way less than 10 hours probably. So I did that. I played Dredge, because I saw a lot of folks on the internet talking about Dredge.
I think Reb was talking about too.
Justin loves Dredge.
Was talking about Dredge.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was Justin talking about Dredge.
Justin was too. So yeah,
we all got the Dredge.
I played it. Was that last episode when I wasn't on or something? 2 episodes ago?
He's been telling. Oh, he talked about it, I think, on the podcast.
Yeah, he talked about it.
Yeah, it was the last one I was on. He was talking about it.
Yeah, I missed it. Anyway,
creepy fishing game.
Yeah, and like it's interesting because there's actually not that like it's very effective at being horror, despite how little of the game is actually horror, and how little of the game is like it uses your fear of the unknown against you, despite the fact that there's very little in the unknown. If you stop caring and you just go out into the darkness of the night, there's not a whole lot. Like anything that's a threat is mostly going to be well communicated in advance. But that doesn't matter, because if you have a fear of the ocean, a fear of the unknown, like that's very effective. But it's also just a very cool little game where you got a boat and you fish and you get treasures and you make boat upgrades and you sell fishes for monies. And sometimes the fishes accidentally come up eldritch abominations that used to be fish at one point and no longer are fish. I don't know. Dredge is really cool. It's again not a super long game. I think I took me like 12 hours to beat. And I'd done maybe 80% of the content in the game. So like I think if you're looking for a small game with a very addictive and interesting like repetitive loop of gameplay, I really like Dredge. Exploring that open sea is very fun. The fishing mini game is simple and quick, and it's just fun to be like, ooh, I found new fish. Oh, these fish are worth a lot of money. Let me sell these for money.
Any eldritch abominations?
Oh, so many horrible things that used to be fish, but are no longer.
That reminds me, what you just said, like you talking about this game reminds me of that meme where Peter Griffin's like, "Ah, sweet man-made horrors for which there's no comprehension."
Man-made horrors beyond me comprehension. How did I say meme, not my? Anyway, yeah, no, it's good. Dredge is really cool, and I do strongly recommend it. I think it's one of the stronger, like small games I've played this entire year. So, very cool. And then my last one is I grabbed on Game Pass because I think the second episode came out. I grabbed Coffee Talk. And I really like Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is, nobody told me this, but Coffee Talk is just Valhalla, the cyberpunk bartender game.
I've heard of it. Yeah,
I really like Valhalla. It's an incredible game that I'll never forget. And every year that goes by, I am saddened by the fact that there's no more news about the officially announced sequel, Nirvana. But Coffee Talk is just that, but in a coffee bar. So you run the coffee shop, and people come in and they talk to you, and you make the drinks that they want. Sometimes they don't know what they want, and they just go, yeah, something kind of sweet, but also I'm lactose intolerant, and you gotta, work up what you're gonna give them. The one nice little quirk is it's just like modern day, like it's set in 2020, but it's set in like a parallel version of like it's set in Seattle, but it's a Seattle in a world where all of the like D&D races are real. So like, elves and orcs and dwarves and succubi and werewolves and vampires and shit are all just a thing. And mermaids, and it's you serve the big bulky werewolf guy his ginger tea, and his twink vampire definitely not boyfriend, a green tea latte, and they talk about their problems. And the succubus and the elf talk about how their families don't approve of them getting hitched and moving off together. And it's just fun. It's very fun. It's very cozy. I will also say I am slightly obsessed with settings that it's the modern day, but there are orcs and elves and goblins and shit. There is something that so tickles me about the idea of Greg, the half-orc accountant, right? Like at the office, just doing his, I don't know, but stuff like that, I'm so in love with. And I'm a complete fucking mark for any time you just have a dwarf working at Best Buy, you know what I mean? So, this is my shit, and I'm very excited to finish it and move on to the second chapter.
I think I know the answer to this, Derek. Is there any reason I need to play the first game to just jump into the second one?
The Coffee Talk?
Yeah.
Well,
this is the second game, right?
Well, I think that it's being treated like episodic.
Okay.
I don't think the first one's only but a couple hours. So okay. I think it's more like a part 1, part 2, part 3. It'll be, like that. So I wouldn't skip the first one because the first one only came out not long ago. I
feel like it was forever ago, but it's again that pandemic time distortion. So yeah. It feels like 10 years. It's probably only been 2.
Yeah. My buddy V in the chat saying I need to check out Goodbye Volcano High. I've been paying attention to it. I admit I already went through the whole cycle of I didn't think it was out.
Is it not out?
It might be. I need to check.
Oh, I thought maybe
it was one I was really excited for at first, and then there was the news that unfortunately a certain writer was involved with the game, who I don't need to name. I'm not trying to send harassment their way, but
we talked about this on the way to John's house last year.
Yeah,
do you remember?
But the writer sucked. She posted fucking simulated child porn of Emma Watson in an article on Kotaku. Which got removed, but it was
out the week before 16.
Yeah, but anyway, people were like, "Hey, man, this writer sucks and should not be involved with a game about high school memories and shit." And that person was removed from the project, and I think that's a large part of why that game has taken so long is because I remember hearing that they did scrap a bunch of work and really
Oh,
you
so
know.
they did like a Chris Avalon thing.
I'm sorry.
Straight up.
Did you say
So.
that Volcano High is coming out a week before Final Fantasy 16?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Volcano High.
June is
It'll
gonna
be fine.
June is gonna be a nightmare because I have Street Fighter, Diablo, and
Dude, that game
fucking
is coming
Final
out, but-
Fantasy.
Dude,
I'm bummed because I can't review both then.
Yeah.
Dude, like
I do wanna
no
play Goodbye
disrespect to
Volcano High, though.
but it's coming out sandwich between Street
Volcano
Fighter.
High's John. Let's
Diablo
be clear.
and Final
Volcano High was
Fantasy.
never gonna be your shit. That is for queer twee little fuckos like me who love Steven Universe. You know what I mean? Like that's
What the
not.
fuck is Steven Universe?
It's fine. Fucking watch it with your. No, your son's too old now. It's too late. Anyway.
Oh, don't watch Steven Universe.
What is Steven Universe?
No,
It's
we
fine.
don't need more kindness.
We're
in the
not
world.
getting into this.
It's a fun little cartoon about a
Yeah.
boy coming.
And
into
people
his
take
own.
don't take
well, that's not my
don't take family cartoons seriously, y'all. Love them, but don't take them seriously. Anyway, Britt, what you been playing? Nothing.
We're
Game
just here
of
for the
life.
vibes.
So I've been I don't know, just really depressed and unmotivated to start anything. And you know, I've got several trips coming up and everything, so I'm just like pre-anxieting beforehand. So I've just the only thing I really play is Overwatch, and there's not really much to say about that. I just get on and zone out and say mean things to people if they say mean things to me.
Hell
So it's
yeah.
basically like every Thursday night.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much all I do. Like, I started 6, and then I started getting overwhelmed again, and I've been watching Zach play through Final Fantasy 1. I played a little bit of Resident Evil 4, which I still need to get through and beat. But Resident Evil 4 is hard for me to play right now because I have bad anxiety. And playing Resident Evil 4 for me increases my anxiety. Like I just got to the part in Resident Evil 4 where you fight the blind guys for the first time. And you fucking fall through the floor. I screamed, and I just I go into fight or flight when I get into those situations.
You're
So
fighting the Garrador.
I hate them so much.
they were my least favorite until I met the Regenerators before I played Resident Evil 4 back in the day, because I'd seen somebody else play them and I was like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to have to be quiet and shit. Anyway, so I got to that scene and I didn't even try to see like what I needed to do. I just started booking it. Like, Leon knelt down and I was like, yep, that's good enough for me. And we just started going. We got to the end of the hallway and I was like, oh, they're going to make me fight this fucker, aren't they? They're going to absolutely make me fight him. And you did. And I did it. And it was horrible. And I know I'm going to have to do it again. And I don't want to.
It's
Can you
so
at least
much worse.
Can you at least appreciate the fact that the Regenerators are like caked up in the remake?
I haven't seen them
Like-
yet. I'm still in the castle.
I see. Okay. In
Yeah.
the remake, they are thick.
I'm not looking
Like-
forward to them either because I'm not good with a sniper.
They're worse.
and-
There's much like the Garradors. They are so much worse in.
But they
in
also
the
got dump
remake.
truck asses, Derek.
It's not the good kind of dump truck ass.
But so like, here's my thing. Like, I am terrified. Like, I don't remember any of what like my good, because in Resident Evil 4 and the Wii, I like maxed out everything. You know, I had the infinite rocket launcher, like all that shit, and I don't remember what the best weapons are. And now I'm getting to the point in the game where he's just like, the merchant's just like throwing weapons on you, and I'm like, what's good? What's best? Like, what do I need to spend my money on? And yeah, that just adds to my anxiety because I don't like making mistakes or being like, oh, I just spent all my money on this. My brain is just fucked right now, so it's
Yeah.
hard for me to play video games.
Well, Britt, take solace in the fact that in just a little over a month, you're gonna be hanging with your boys.
I am.
in
So
Los
I'm
Angeles.
actually going home.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm going home for our birthday, Derek. So my birthday's June 4th, and on the 1st, I am going to Washington. And then on the 7th, I get back, and then I have the 8th day to kind of do my shit, laundry, whatever I need to do. And then the 9th, I got to go back to the airport because then I'm going to LA. So I'm going to the West Coast twice. So that's going to be stressful but fun.
Know that feeling.
Shut up, CJ. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
LA's gonna be a good ass time though. So
it will be. It will be.
We're gonna be playing Final Fantasy 60.
Maybe.
Now we get to hang out with Ben.
We'll see. Yeah, we are gonna
hang with Ben. Ben Starr, the voice of Clive, who is at this point I can say a good friend of the podcast, which is wild to think about. I'm
scared to talk to him. I don't talk to him.
I'm gonna be very not normal about the apparent gay sex scene that's in Final Fantasy 16 that got it banned from Saudi Arabia. Yes,
hot gay sex is what Reddit called it.
I am ready for this shit.
And by the way, like real quick, props to Square for not censoring that, for standing firm and saying, hey, yeah, no, we're not gonna censor that for you. Derek, shut the fuck up.
It's gonna be between Ramu and Titan.
No, it's gonna be between Odin and Sleipnir, his horse.
Don't bring that into this.
Hey, look, Sleipnir is a super fuckable horse, okay?
Are you saying Slutnir? Is that an intended pun?
I didn't say. I said Sleipnir.
John, you have a lot more in common with John Oliver than I thought.
I didn't say Slutnir. I said, Brittany, where's your brain?
John, you were just talking about fucking horses.
But I didn't say
Who are
Slutnir.
You accusing? Oh, that's the line that was crossed.
I didn't say Slutnir. No,
that was fair, the line that was crossed.
To be fair, though, we all have to agree that this is the hottest Sid has ever been, right?
Maybe. I haven't looked.
You haven't seen Sid in this game?
I'm looking at as little as possible.
Dude, Sid is very handsome. He's a daddy in this game, Derek. He's got like a silver fox. What was that?
I cannot speak on this.
No.
Okay.
Legally, no.
Well, legally, I cannot speak on this.
CJ, what have you been playing?
Nothing. Same. I literally, I've been way too busy. Even Advance Wars, like, I'm making very little progress. I'm on a fucking mission now. It's too hard. I don't like it. I'm on the guy. The fucking, it's still early in the game. The guy who spawns shit all the time. Fucking, what's his name? The green. I was literally playing the green. It was like one of the Green Army. I'm literally playing.
Fucking Eagle. Yeah.
I hate this dude. I hate him, man. He made my flight awful. he made my flight awful. So I haven't been playing much. I wanted to start up Jedi Survivor again on New Game Plus because like my cousin's sending me screenshots of the game, and I'm like, man, I kind of miss. I'm bummed that I didn't get to play with everyone else, because like by the time the game came out, that's it. I was done. I had written like 1,200 words on it. I didn't want to look at it again. But now I'm like,
Did you give your Cal one of those awful haircuts, CJ? I've seen some shit out there.
Let's
give him
see.
the mullet and the trucker stash.
January order.
Give him the 66. Jacob Wysocki.
January order 66. Cal. I had a good tweet that was like, what is it? You may not agree with him, but he is your emperor, and you will respect the office. The emperor could shoot someone on Fifth. The emperor could shoot someone on Coruscant. He wouldn't lose any voters. I gave Cal like the side shaved and a full beard. I bought the bandana after I beat the game, and I kept that on for like most of the. It's cool because like when I restarted the game on New Game Plus, the first cutscene is him with like the bandana, long hair, and the beard, which is very fun to me, and he's wearing like some really cool armor. As far as stuff I want to play, I do want to start up Final Fantasy IV at some point. I have a flight coming up in like 2 weeks that I might like do it on then. I'm definitely getting Tears of the Kingdom, even though I probably won't like it. But you know, I hate money and I hate myself. I mean, I find it hard to focus on big games now, especially now that I'm waiting for like another review code. So I'm just like, all right, what do I do now? I have too many games. I re-downloaded God of War Ragnarok thinking that like Jedi Survivor might break the.
Oh, that'll be the trick. Yeah.
Well, that's the problem is like I play Jedi Survivor, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. This is like a better version of a lot of AAA story-driven games that I fell off of so many times, right? Maybe going back to the game that like maybe going back to a game that I don't vibe with will fix whatever, you know what I'm saying. So we'll see. Maybe I'll boot it up, maybe I won't, probably not. So I want to start up like Final Fantasy IV. I want to start again. Tears of the Kingdom. That new Lego driving game comes out in like 2 weeks.
Oh my god, yes.
If I don't get a review code for it, I'll definitely buy it. I'm so fucking excited.
I'm feeling feelings.
We're getting that. We're getting a new test drive. I think we're getting a new crew game. We're getting that recreation game from the old Burnout people. You could read. Forza Motorsport 7. Forza Motorsport. So driving sim. We're back. We're so back. Like what is it? GT7 was my most played game of 2022. Like, we're back. We're so fucking back, bro.
Are you excited for the? Just throwing that out there.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Can we get a new stunt driver?
Yo.
Yes, let's do it. I would kill. No, let's bring back Stuntman. You ever play Stuntman on the PS2?
I want a new Road Rash. Like a good
Let's bring back oh my god, Road Rash with like a new sound guard and like updated sound.
Yeah. Stuntman what I was talking about? I called it Stunt.
No, Stunt Driver. No, Stunt Driver is like the old. No, there's like so there's stunts on the PC.
It was like the cinematic one where you're just doing stunts.
Yeah, so Stuntman was the one where like you have to follow your marks. Yes, and then they would
that one. That's the shit.
That'd be sick as fuck. Are you kidding? But yeah. So other than that, like I can't talk about what I've been doing. I can say that I was in LA on Tuesday to play a game that's coming out soon. I posted it on Twitter. No, I can say it. I just can't say. I can't give my thoughts on it. That's why I couldn't legally say anything about a certain character. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, I haven't been doing much. I am excited for. I think now I'm like, since we're coming up against it, I think I am looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom, in a way, because like that last trailer which we talked about on the podcast, I think that last trailer kind of sold me on like let's say even if the game isn't as structured as I want it to be, at least a lot of the mechanics are like interesting enough that they'll keep me engaged. Even if I don't finish it, at least I'll play for like a good amount.
I mean, just think about this, CJ. Like we right now, like this is shaping up to be an all-time year for games.
Yeah, and nothing has peaked. Nothing has passed that Kirby remake that came out in February. I agree with you.
I mean,
I 100% agree.
Like, no, seriously,
it's good.
like
think about it. Like we're like I just finished reviewing a big Star Wars game and I liked it a lot. Like we're gonna get a new Final Fantasy. We're getting Street Fighter, Diablo. We just talked about all that. Even all the
Zelda, like a brand new Zelda,
a brand new Zelda. Advance Wars. I'm still playing it. We got all the Final Fantasy remasters.
A Metroid Prime remaster that is like the most beautiful game on Switch now. Like it's
and Resident Evil, which I have actually.
Resident Evil 4. I mean,
I have a copy at work waiting for me that I have to go pick up. So I think I might do that this weekend.
This is shaping up to be one of the and we're not even halfway through the year. Like we don't know.
I'm done. I'm cut off after Final Fantasy 16. Like I don't need anything else.
Too many games, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man 2 coming later this year. I mean, and we don't know what else is beyond that. Like, I mean, this is just so far just been an absolutely incredible fucking year.
Abandoned.
Abandoned,
yeah,
man.
For sure.
It's coming out this year.
Abandoned.
Redfall. Everybody's taking a lot of time playing that game.
Oh, Britt, that's not cool.
Redfall, Game of the Year 2023. Well, actually, guys, I can say what I went to go play. Actually, Square invited me to go play Balance Wonderworld 2.
So speaking of Redfall, let's go ahead and jump into our Xbox topic. And we're just talking about, I guess, kind of, Derek, kind of the state of Xbox in general.
Yeah, I can kind of set the stage here.
Yeah, please.
So here's the deal, y'all. I mean, granted, it's been kind of a slow news week, but Redfall hit. It's something that I think a lot of people have known and worried was coming in a little hot, which is not a surprise, right? Because Arcane games coming in hot, never. But like Redfall came in really hot. Redfall is a mess right now. There's a lot of aspects of the game that are frankly unfinished. I mean, I'm seeing screenshots of like literal like unedited like rough draft text still in that nobody's gone and given it a pass to.
Derek, I have heard this game described as a disaster by some people.
I've seen a lot of people, a lot of reasonable, because here's the thing, right? There's folks who like are encouraged to be as hyperbolic as possible when talking. Like that's part of the attention economy, right? Is the more extreme a thing you say, the more eyes get on your video or your article or your tweet or whatever. But I've seen a lot of people who are really, really down here right? They're really laid back. They're very realistic. They're often very forgiving, saying that not only is this game unfinished, but if it was finished, it does not have the bones of a great game. I mean, obviously there's people who are enjoying it.
Sure.
I think those are people who are enjoying it on Game Pass for the most part. Because it's also, unfortunately, like, this game's not only in a really bad state and doesn't feel like it's a great experience, it's also Microsoft's first $70 game. So, not the game you want to introduce.
Oh, I didn't even know that, dude.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, let's be real. 99% of people who play it are going to play it on Game Pass. They're not going to buy it for $70. But it's not great, right? Here's, I think, what I want to talk about, because Redfall's a mess. Sure. Redfall's the first Xbox exclusive, like big exclusive from like a big name developer that
Right.
I think your average gamer was keeping eyes on in a while. And like, Microsoft's not, the narrative is that Microsoft is not in a great place, right? That they cannot get projects out, that the games are not great, right? Not helped by some high-profile fails like Halo Infinite, unfortunately. A game which I liked despite popular opinion.
They
Right.
essentially abandoned that too, right?
Well, I mean...
It's in a weird place.
Yeah.
It launched in a weird place.
Weird place is a good way to put it.
But
It was just a weird release because it felt like it came out and everyone was pretty positive
that was like
on the
first
campaign.
game I've seen where
and
everyone was
pretty
like,
positive on the multiplayer, and then like it's like I turned off the channel for 6 months and came back, and the whole mood had changed on it. So
That's what it
that
felt
was an
like.
interesting one.
Yeah,
and it
it's
reviewed
like-
well too.
It's kind of like, the current era of service games has really made it so difficult for an online multiplayer game to... Oh, shit!
Oh, there he is.
It's my boy!
Oh, that means I'm out.
Nice.
Wow.
Fuck, left before I could. Damn it. God.
He's not even really in here yet. She
Howdy,
like,
Finn.
No, it's all good. I'm actually just here to call out the riffraff.
Are you fucking driving?
I knew it. I called it. I fucking called it.
Are you
What?
fucking
Said this
driving?
motherfucker was driving.
I am driving.
God damn it!
Tell me you're drinking too.
Hey,
Tell me you're drinking too.
He's just on. He's just on speakerphone. Here's the deal.
Technically,
He's
I am drinking, but it is a ginger peach sparkling water.
okay.
Oh,
Okay,
He's
fuck that
he's
shit.
just
Second-
on speakerphone. That's not the same as our usual issue. That's fine. You can talk on speakerphone and drive.
No, don't.
Oh, wait, you want me to
don't
go-
drive
you
and
want me to-
don't podcast and drive.
I can turn on the camera.
Yes. Hold your phone up while you drive. I need to know that. I need to confirm that you're driving. I need you.
No, Finn, turn that shit off. Focus on the road. What are you doing,
Dark
Finn?
silhouette.
POS is gonna get us.
Finn, are you being kidnapped right now?
It's all good. I'm not looking at you. I'm just driving. It's fine.
Look at us though. That's kind of rude. We're all
Like,
You're
here.
giving
gonna
up.
forget that he's on camera. He's gonna
Can't
start like
stop
picking his
him.
nose or something.
No, officer, you don't
With
understand.
what
I'm
hand?
recording
He's
a
holding the
podcast.
phone and driving with the other.
But I'm
Officer, you
driving with
don't.
my knees.
Yeah.
No,
Oh
Finn,
my God.
what are you doing?
Uh,
No,
We're gonna
he's
get
got a
him
Tesla.
killed
He's got
on
a Tesla.
air.
The auto
And-
drive will only hit small children. He's fine.
Yeah, he's
Oh my
gonna-
God, Finn, turn your camera off.
When I was driving when I would drive to high school, I would be doing my homework on my steering wheel, driving with my knees because I had the
Man.
multi.
How are
You're
you
such a
still
hero,
alive?
bro. You're such a fucking hero, bro. I love you. Holy shit.
Well, anyway,
Well,
you're
let me
just
ask you
in.
something, John. What was easier, doing the homework the night before, or learning to drive with your knees so you could do it driving to school? I mean, come on.
Well, Finn, if you
question.
do get in a car wreck, it's appropriate because we're talking about Xbox now. So
Finn is
Let's go
actually
ahead.
Finn has actually managed to make it to the next stage of White Boy. It's really incredible.
So what I
Well,
just
I
said
think
was
Derek, you were kind of finishing a line of thought, right?
Yeah. So the long and the short of it is like, look, Redfall is a mess, but the narrative is that Microsoft is in a very bad place and needs to like correct the ship. I want us to talk about, is that actually true? Right?
No.
Why do you think that is or is not true? Because I don't think, I think that a lot of times popular opinion is bullshit and vibes based. And, you know, regardless of how you feel Microsoft is doing right now, like, what are the moves you see them making in the future or hope they make in the future, you know, to improve the path that they're on. Because
Don't make
even
me
if you're
raise
not
my
doing,
hand like I normally do.
So
no, just speak
Not
up.
a great thing to do right now. All right.
Come on, we're not. We can't know. We can't break the rules just because you're driving, buddy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay,
And let's be
sorry.
clear that like fixing Redfall, right? Fixing Redfall is not gonna be the answer to this, right? Like Redfall's a mess. They can stabilize it and clean it up and add content, but it's going to be, if they can make something special out of this, it's going to be a while before that happens, and that's just going to be to staunch the bleeding. So
Yeah, it's like a band-aid on
I've been playing Redfall with my friends, who all were really excited for it. It's a rough game. I don't really see what patches can do for it. It's just, it is what it is. I think it's fine. If they fix the glitches, it doesn't really fix the lack of, I don't know, the AI is a big whiff. Like, we were just playing around, and at some points enemies just stopped spawning, and we were just doing entire missions with nothing to fight. So if we had to like log out of the game and relog in to have stuff spawn in.
it sounds like this needed another year in the oven, to be honest.
But it sounded, I think, and I don't know if that's on the docket, but Phil Spencer gave that interview today, and he basically, I think, even made reference to Redfall and say, like, sometimes we have a great game and it just doesn't ship in the great state, and sometimes the vision that, like, basically the game that players end up playing is not what the team intended. And he said, like, I think he was talking about Redfall, like, it sounds like it just, they had ideas and sometimes they don't come together. And it's interesting because I think there was a quote recently coming out from Yoshida with PlayStation. Not that it's, like, PlayStation does everything right, but, and nobody likes canceled games either, but he's basically saying, like, we cancel so many games because we and the developers get pissed sometimes, but we cancel because, like, this isn't coming together. And I appreciate both sides, but I think I appreciate that Microsoft was willing to be like, and I think there's some legal jargon. Like, I think ZeniMax and Bethesda kind of operate semi-independently in terms of, like, management and stuff like that. But it sounds like Microsoft was very much like, go make your game, and it is what it is. And again, like, I don't have a problem with that, but it means that you might get stuff like this where if you had a bit more, I don't want to say oversight, or, like, it's hard because you also don't want the big company meddling, right? You just want to let game developers make their games, but that's part of the job of management also, is to provide, like, a critical eye, a little bit of feedback, help and support, but give that honest feedback. And I don't know where things broke down there, because it's hard to imagine that they thought this was like a banger based on what we've seen.
Can I say two things before I jump off to go actually log on to the computer?
Yeah.
Okay. The first is that Redfall, for all of its faults, is getting dogpiled on in retaliation. Like, all of its faults aside, the response online to Redfall has been fueled by, like, a quote unquote justification for PlayStation fans for how Xbox fans jumped all over Forspoken not being a huge, like, hit.
I hate everything you just said. This sounds like a nightmare.
It is what it is.
Is this a Twitter thing?
Started this year off, and it wasn't the big, like, massive, like, AAA blockbuster people were hoping for. And Xbox fans, because it wasn't coming to their platform, were jumping on it and over, like, just making a bigger deal about every small fault, whether it was a big deal or not. Like, there was a whole campaign about how bad the dialogue is, and that was fueled by that. Blah blah blah. And so now Redfall comes out, and it's like, haha, now you have a bad game too. It's bullshit. It's childish, but that's part of what's fueling the Redfall narrative right now. It's the same. It's the opposite side of the coin that fueled the Forspoken narrative.
I mean,
But the only other thing I'm going to start off by saying is, like, the whole concept and discussion of, is Xbox failing? What are they doing wrong? How can they right the ship? They announced months ago that they're going to have a big June showcase. They're not going to announce stuff before that. They're saving everything for June. This conversation needs to happen after that showcase. If that showcase is a dud, yeah, we need to have this conversation. But I don't think it is. I think this showcase is what they've been so tight-lipped upon, and we're finally going to see either get release dates or concrete gameplay, not just CG teaser footage of all these big games that have been like dancing around the edges of Xbox's ecosystem for years now, like literally like 3 to 5 years per game, like State of Decay 3, Avowed, Fable, whatever the fuck Rare's new game is, like that had a weird name to it. I can never remember what it's called. What is it?
Oh yeah, no. Oh, Hellblade is another one, yeah.
No, Hellblade 2 is another one, of course. But like, we just need a release date on that. We at least have finally seen gameplay of Hellblade 2. But Rare had a new game that they announced. It was just
Everwild.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the one, Everwild. And I mean, and then you have Perfect Dark. You know, like that's another game that we know in concept but have never seen in action. So they've got tons of major games to finally unveil and show that they've been holding off. And maybe they're pulling a Nintendo. And the reason they haven't talked about them in so long is because they're going to show and be like, and it's coming now, and boom and boom and boom. And they're going to end 2023 on a fucking banger. We don't know. But we also know that they've got to be real high on Starfield to give it not only like its own dedicated show after their dedicated show to all their other games. They're like, yeah, we had our own E3 conference, but now we're having a separate E3 conference just for Starfield. I just think this conversation needs to happen after that showcase, because my personal belief is that they're going to come out swinging and show that all of the studios they've bought and all the games they've announced and they never talked about are on the horizon. That's my take. Anyway.
Okay,
I'm gonna go jump on a computer.
Can I build off just what Finn said?
No, Jeff, please.
For a bit, because I think I agree with everything Finn said. I think, and again, I'm ignoring. Like Finn was talking about console war bullshit. I think we all agree that that's stupid. You know, I'm not going to touch that discourse, right? I think broadly, I think the level-minded, reasonable people that are disappointed with Xbox, I think. You know, Finn said, you know, we got to have this talk after the showcase, and that's true. But I think where some of the frustration has started to reach a boiling point is, I think people have been told that kind of every year for a while now. Like, if you go back to like E3 2019 or whatever, there's been a few where Xbox said it's our biggest showcase yet, our biggest E3 yet. And it's kind of, there's always been that expectation, and every year it gets a little bit worse. Like, this is the year, this is when we see everything. And we get glimpses at stuff, but it feels like it just continuously never quite materializes. And obviously eventually it will, because these are real projects and real games, and they are being made. But I think that's where some of like the fatigue and the frustration has started. Even like, when is it coming? And I think part of it too is we know game dev cycles are like 5 years now. Sometimes they're 6, sometimes they're 7. Like, look at the length of development for a AAA game, and then you add in a COVID pandemic that set everybody back a year or two. You add in a generation change in hardware for consoles. You add in, like, you know, studio acquisitions, trying to integrate them with Microsoft. So really, it's only been 10 years since 2013, since the Xbox One launched. And I think this whole, you know, the studio transition, the talk about changing their focus, making good games, they started building that 6 or 7 years ago, but like, that's also how long it takes, maybe even more when you add in all the other factors. And I know people are tired of hearing about it, but I think the next 10 years for Xbox is when we are going to see a lot of this stuff. But the question is, like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be worth the wait? And people are like valid to be a little bit skeptical, because Halo Infinite was one of their big projects that was pretty recent, that launched on the Xbox Series. And hard to argue it wasn't a disaster, but like,
but I'm not saying they're you know, exempt from you know, scrutiny or just, you know, what's
we don't know, right?
Talking about just like, like, people are valid to be skeptical, but I also feel like at a certain point, these games that we know are coming are going to come.
Yep.
And then this won't be an issue, hopefully. But I mean,
if they turn out like Redfall,
PlayStation had this problem during the PS3 era as well, where they had a lot of studios and they weren't coming out with stuff yet, and then they all did, and then we entered that like really solid PS4 era.
Like the back half, of like, the back half of the PS3 is like what, like one of the greatest, like,
exactly.
I think. All right, we talked about it a bit before the show, but I think the thing is, like, and I want to be clear, like, I think we all know, like, Xbox has put out some good games, like their Age of Empires ports and games. Pentiment from Obsidian was very well received. I think Grounded, people quite enjoyed Grounded, also from Obsidian. and like Microsoft Flight Simulator, like obviously different audiences, but like they have put out good games and well-received games, but they just don't quite have, like, none of them are quite capturing the attention that something like, and maybe it's an IP issue too, but you know, they don't, obviously how easy it is for Nintendo to get the mainstream appeal, to get that buzz, to get what's going to get people talking about their game for months on end. And Sony's got a lot of their big franchises too. And I think that's maybe what people are looking for. And I think that's, I'm sure Xbox is searching for that too.
I agree with you on that too, Jeff. It's because the games that they have been launching, good or not, have been ones that either they haven't marketed very well or aren't genres or IPs that get people excited. And part of that is Microsoft's fault. They've done a really, game quality aside, they've done a very bad job of promoting and advertising, that marketing their games as something worth talking about and getting excited. Like, yeah, they've released Pentiment, which was a very good game, but show me anything that was about marketing and pushing it to people. Like that, it's like when, you know, I could say like, yeah, but Sony released The Puppeteer, you know, like good game. But who knows? Like, no one knew anything about it.
Hi-Fi Rush was great. It was shadow dropped, which good and bad,
Hi-Fi
right?
Rush actually benefited from that.
It did, but then there was like no follow-up in terms of like that game was so worth like the social media push. You know what I mean? There's some great character in that game. There's some great character designs. Like people should have. I remember a great tweet, which is a horrible sentence for me to say. Where shortly after Hi-Fi Rush was out, which was like, how is there this big, like, hulking teddy bear daddy of a supporting character, and like he never went viral on Twitter, and it's bullshit.
So, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you guys all a question right now.
Yeah.
Haha, I'm here.
Hey!
Right now.
Oh shit, Finn. Hey.
Did you know that Microsoft had a big...
Is that a leather polo?
Game? No, it's just
It looks leather.
Let me ask you a question. Did you know that Microsoft, like a major game dropped on Microsoft today, Ravenlock?
No,
Like,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
That's my point. It's a very well-received title, but it's in the same vein as Pentiment and the others. And none of we're people whose entire show is dedicated to knowing about what's going on in games.
Yeah.
No one knew about it.
So
let me tell you, did you know that
my
Minecraft Legends dropped last week?
Yeah,
I did know that. Yeah.
Here's my look. So I used to compare Game Pass. What would happen? I'm sorry, John. Did you want to say something first?
Well, no, I just want to say, like, so I've been, so there's kind of like there's two schools of thought right now circling around online. It's and both are full of hyperbole. One is Xbox is doing great and nothing is wrong, right? And the other one is Xbox is completely fucked. Neither of those are correct. Right? Neither of those are correct, but there's truth in both of them, right? So
yeah, I mean,
I see a lot of people compare Xbox's struggles to what happened during the PS3 era, right? Like, because, you know, Sony had a very tough time I would say for the majority of the PlayStation 3 era, right? But they were able to right the ship. The difference, and I understand that comparison. The difference is that Xbox has had an issue for several generations now, and they are behind in hardware sales. Jeff mentioned that their games are well received, right? Which is true, but I don't think anybody can deny that Xbox first party studios have a quality problem when you hold them up next to Sony and Nintendo. They just do. And, you know, and Finn hit on something as well. They don't market their games. They just don't.
It's like they assume because they're on Game Pass that they don't need to. I don't know if that's the thinking.
Maybe who knows, but also but then you've got games like Halo Infinite, which Halo Infinite was supposed to be the big, like rebirth of Halo, right? And they just essentially abandoned that game.
You know how much that hurts that a Halo game launch?
Well, they gutted the staff. They gutted the studio.
Right. And so I want to bring up that interview that Phil Spencer did with Kind of Funny today, and he said something that struck me.
I'm glad you are going to, because I need that to get brought up for me to jump into the stuff I want to talk about. So.
So he said he said flat out, he said we are not going to out console Sony and Nintendo, right? Which a lot of people were taking as an admission of defeat. I don't look at it that deep. That said, one, that is not what Xbox gamers want to hear. And two, more importantly, and I think which is the real problem for Microsoft, is that is not what shareholders want to hear. Shareholders don't want to hear that their product isn't going to beat the competition. That doesn't inspire shareholder confidence. And honestly, it doesn't inspire consumer confidence as well.
He also
I agree to an extent, but the thing with Microsoft is their shareholders don't really care about Xbox. And like Xbox is such a small, like people don't have Xbox shares, right? They have Microsoft shares.
But they still care about money.
They do, but like I'm just saying, like Xbox, it's bigger, but it's still such a small piece of the pie that long as Azure and Office Suite are doing good.
Don't they lose money on Xbox consoles anyway?
I was going to say, according to Microsoft, like the Xbox gaming division is the most profitable it's ever been, right? I think I'm pretty sure I remember reading that, and it's because the way we are often so trained to think about the gaming industry is built on sell the consoles, sell the games, soak up money on accessories and on game licensing fees and things like that. But Microsoft is not in the same position that Nintendo and Sony are. Because Microsoft does have Game Pass, right? Which means that they are soaking in subscription money off of so many people, right? That they are in a lot, like that is clearly that has been the corner of their business for years now. And they're doing it clearly because it's working for them. And the other side of this is that they have Windows, right? And Microsoft makes a shitload of money off PC gaming. They have the Windows Store, they have the Xbox app, they get to double down on Game Pass on PC. They're
the only like big publisher that really has two platforms.
Yes, they publish their games on Steam and still make money on Steam, right? Like
all you have to do is ask this question: if Xbox died, Microsoft keeps on going like nothing happened. If PlayStation dies, Sony goes under.
I don't know.
If Nintendo dies.
Yeah. With Sony, that's fucking for sure, bud.
I don't know, man. Like Sony makes more money on insurance and imagery than they do anywhere near PlayStation.
We'll circle back. I'm gonna pull up some numbers because PlayStation's a big slice of that pie.
PlayStation's become a way bigger slice of
Sony's
their
a very
pie
high
than it ever
revenue
has
but
been.
very slim margin company in most avenues it's in, if I remember correctly.
Microsoft's basically the Sega of this console. Like they can go under and they'll be fine. Like they're you know what I'm saying? Like they're not gonna like nothing's gonna happen.
If the Switch goes under, will that kill Nintendo? That's the real question.
No, because Nintendo has a war chest big enough to have like 5 Wii U flops in a row and still keep trucking. Like,
can they print more cards from like the 60s?
All they gotta do is open more love hotels. They're like
so Microsoft has this big presentation coming up. In June?
June 11th, I think.
Yes.
June 11th. Okay. That's the day that's the day of the Final Fantasy 16 launch party. I agree that this needs to be a huge presentation, and if it's not, then we've got a problem. That being said, Jeff brought up that for years, like it seems like this is kind of Xbox's thing, right? Like we have these big presentations where we get a lot of Hellblade 2 still isn't out, and that we first saw the amazing trailer for that game 5 fucking years ago or some shit. Like it's been a while. Like Fable was part of the greatest Xbox games lineup in Xbox history in like 2016, and that game is nowhere near finished. And when was the last time we had a Gears of War game? When was the last Gears of War game?
Gears 5 was a few years ago. We're due to hear more, but like I don't think we're that.
Well, I'm surprised
separated.
they didn't at least announce like a Gears 2 remake.
They had a pretty meaty DLC, Hivebusters or whatever.
That just came out 2021, I think, right?
Yeah.
So
Gears 5 was 2019.
My whole thing is like value, right? Like, what's the most value you're getting out of having the new Xbox? And I think a lot of that, like, so we're all adults, right? Like, we play the new stuff
well, I mean,
as it comes out.
Yeah.
You know, we buy games, we play them as soon as we can, you know, whatever. But I think where Xbox is really a niche is for the younger generation. As far as Games Pass goes, because a lot of people who are in the younger generation are playing games that are free. They're playing Fortnite, they're playing Fall Guys, they're playing Game Beast, Roblox, Minecraft. They're all playing these games that are just, they don't care about the new stuff coming out. So something like Games Pass is perfect to them and perfect to parents, because then they don't have to go out buying their kid like games all the time. You know, it's like, here, you have this whole collection of library at your disposal. And I think that's a big selling point for Xbox. Like, regardless of what games are doing well or not, I think that is propping it up really big. Now, for us, we're older, right? Like, we always say on this podcast that we wish we were kids again, because we used to be able to fly through games like they were nothing. You know, so it's like we need value. We need more value out of a console than what we've been getting so far. And I think that's a valid complaint for, you know, the older generation of gamers, because nobody wants to spend their time playing through a half-ass game. Nobody wants to waste their time doing it. And I think that's why they're struggling, is they haven't really, it just feels like they haven't really put any effort towards building a strong like gaming foundation that they can kind of prop out and ride up on, because Halo's not doing that for them anymore. You know, they were really depending on that, and you know, they
can't believe the way they fumbled back on
3-4-3. They just lost their lead person. He left. So good. Maybe New Blood will do something better for the Halo series, but that's where I'm at right now. I have the cloud version. The only time I've ever played it is when my computer died. I was able to play Disney's Dreamlight Valley on it. And you know, that's another plus, is like, you know, you can use Games Pass on your PC. But again, as far as buying games that are now $70, there's nothing that I'm willing to buy on Xbox that is $70 right now.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is like the Game Pass, love it or hate it from a consumer standpoint, in situations like Redfall, is amazing. Like, if this was a PlayStation scenario and you were hearing that it was just mediocre, but it was a game you were excited about, you would still need to drop $70 to see for yourself. Whereas Redfall,
knowing PlayStation fans would have.
I was like, you hear Redfall and even people like me are like, yeah, but you know, whatever, I'll download on Game Pass and see it for myself. And yeah, it's a misnomer to say you're playing it for free because you're paying for the subscription, but that's not the mentality. You know, you're just like, oh, well, Redfall,
you can pay as little as like $2 for it, right? Like, yeah.
And that's something that Xbox, from a consumer standpoint, like, is it great for the developer? Jury's out. They're kind of hiding a lot of those details, but they're internal, so whatever.
We'll find out soon.
But the whole thing is just like, that is an option Xbox fans have that PlayStation doesn't.
Exactly.
If a game comes out, mixed reviews, and it could, some of those games end up being amazing for a specific person, but one console, you don't have to drop $70 to find out, and one you do.
Exactly.
And that is the
takeaway there is like, the PlayStation has been consecutively releasing good games, so it's not much of a gamble, at least from like their primary studios. Whereas Xbox, like I said, Halo, that's like their main game right now, and it's, you know, it flopped. Like, you can't even rely on the reliable ones to be a day one purchase.
Well, one thing I thought of, sorry, Finn.
Nothing I was saying was going to matter. Go.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, one thing I thought of while Britt and Finn were talking and like making good points is I think you can kind of split these into two topics. So there's like, does Microsoft have a problem with the quality of their games? And is the Xbox division of Microsoft doing well? Because the two aren't like mutually exclusive, right? Like, Xbox could be doing fine. Game Pass could be doing great. They could be bringing in money. But when you look at just their games that are being released, they could still have a problem with project management, with the quality, with the timing and stuff like that. Like the two are not necessarily connected because as we know, like, I mean, you can pump out a crappy movie and it might make $1 billion at the box office because I can't help it. Like sometimes I like garbage, right?
Yeah.
Like so it doesn't like the two aren't always, it's not always, you can't always correlate them, but yeah, I mean, I agree with what Britt said. Like, Game Pass is, it's just Xbox has carved. I don't even like to compare them to Sony, and I agree with what Phil said. Like, we're not competing with them.
Right.
He made comments. Basically, you can look back. There's interviews every year or two since the middle of the Xbox One generation. When they started shipping their games day one on PC, they were giving up and saying, we are not interested in selling the most console units. Because they don't care, because PC to them is an Xbox. Windows is a Microsoft platform. And it was more important for them to add their user base, add their market share, add to their ecosystem than to move more boxes than the competitor, which they decided wasn't worth the effort. And I think it's cool now that we're in a space where Nintendo is off in a magical world with no idea what anybody else is doing, and they don't care. And for some reason, no matter what stupid decisions they make, they just keep winning. And Sony's out there pumping out, not everybody likes what they're doing, but they're pumping out big budget, huge games that are critically well received and selling really well, and they're selling lots of their little boxes.
Even their most mediocre ones have the most fervent and like demented fan. You know what I'm saying?
He's always that guy.
Fucking Days Gone shooters will get you if you criticize their fucking 6 out of 10 game.
Days Gone devs will fucking come to your house.
You can't buy that. You can't buy that publicity.
There were people who told me that ReCore was the new Metroid, and I'm like, no, like, come on.
I'll go to bat for ReCore. I'm gonna bet.
But yeah, then the last thing I'll say, like, and then we have Microsoft over here. It's like, we aren't interested in chasing, unit sales. They don't even release numbers in years. We have no fucking idea what constitutes a success for them because we don't know how much their games sell, if they even sell. But they're doing Game Pass. They're saying we're, building up our library. We're all about streaming, xCloud, stream from your PC to your Xbox. Have this huge library of games. Their backwards compatibility program, which is, kind of on pause now, but like they were doing something different. And I think it worked to an extent, but, it's so hard to say. It's like John said, like, it's not like Xbox is a disaster, but also like, it's probably not reasonable to say they're a runaway success. It's somewhere in the middle and we don't know what their metrics for success are. We don't know what their numbers are. Like, it's just really hard to say like if they're doing good or bad. But yeah, looking at like the games themselves, the games are what most of us who listen and talk on this show care about, and they're always going to be a little bit subjective, but it's like fair to say so far they've had some trouble, and we just won't know, like Finn said, until we see that showcase, until these games finally start arriving. And then a few years from now, if all their acquisitions have finally put out their first games and they're all still kind of all over the place, like, yeah, then maybe.
We streamed the last big like Xbox event, I think, didn't we?
We did.
E3, like the E3 one, right?
Yeah, and that was how many years ago?
A while, 2019, I want to say.
2019.
Yeah,
2020.
yeah, right.
2021, no?
No, 2020. Yeah, it was more recent.
The actual E3 one was 2020.
Well, I'm talking about like around E3 time. Everyone's doing their thing.
Yes.
So yeah.
So this is what I'm worried about, right? Like, they had this big event where they showcased a lot of games, and I would say a good portion of those games aren't even released yet. And the big one that I was excited for was Redfall. I thought it looked fucking awesome and amazing, and like almost like a Left 4 Dead successor, and I was really excited for it. So when people are like, well, Redfall isn't that great, like, let's just wait until their announcements, I'm like, okay, but I did that before, and it let me down. And that's the biggest disappointment, is I feel like these games aren't getting the time and care they need to kind of grow. And that's sad because, for the games that they do, Finn, you were saying like they release so many games and they didn't market. And it's like, it's sad because the games they do market aren't the games that are succeeding, which is disappointing. So I hope.
It's so weird to me because the games that they are not highlighting are the ones that if they were on other consoles, I think would get a lot more attention because of their genres and styles. I feel like for better or worse, still a huge swath of the Xbox fan base is in their original model of just being like first person shooter, Gears of War, Halo, Forza,
Exactly.
like that cycle. And so I don't know if it's a combination of like they just know that it wouldn't be worth the push, or I don't know, because Pentiment is a great game by one of their best studios. Like
I've never even heard of it until
it's
tonight.
it's a game that I think you would dig.
I don't know what it is.
Personally, I'm gonna link it for you.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you,
It's Obsidian. And
things started going south for Xbox when they released Lost Odyssey. Let's just get it out in the open.
I will fucking
you,
end
Bro,
you,
Lost
John.
Odyssey.
Shut the fuck up.
bro. God,
John
dude.
just mad
Derek, kick him.
that
Kick him for
Swear
the next
to
10
God.
minutes.
Kick
Kick him
him.
for 10 minutes.
about that.
Wish
But
you
it's like-
wouldn't, bud.
I'm a Blue Dragon shooter.
Well,
I say that based on nothing, but it's just I also say this based on nothing except just a personal vibe and a feeling is that the way Microsoft is promoting this showcase, I feel like it's a little different. I feel like they've
I
finally
hope
got
so.
well, it's like
I think everyone's
it's
writing
more,
on this.
more eagle-eyed sleuths than myself have noticed that last year's showcase, the X had a very space theme to signify Starfield, and this year it's more magical and mystical, and that makes me think it's either going to be Fable or
Perfect.
Avowed. Either way, like both of those, Avowed specifically, I think has enough to interest me. Like, if it could give me this Elder Scrolls style gameplay without the fact that I hate Elder Scrolls, like I feel like Avowed could really do it for me.
See, like at first I thought you were going
I'm
to
with you,
say it
Finn.
feels like Elder Scrolls. I was like, dude, they're not gonna re-reveal that
No.
before Starfield comes out.
It'd be really funny if they did.
well,
It'd be really fucking funny if they did.
I was gonna say, like, if we can wrap up this topic. I thought maybe for something fun to end it, we could just talk about, like, you know, we've been talking about these big Xbox games forever. Like, we could just talk, you know, what are we looking forward to most from like their current announced slate?
Fabled.
Nothing.
Fable.
I'm just not
I
an Xbox gamer.
have a ton
Oh.
of curiosity around Perfect Dark. Like, I just
Mhm.
want to know. Like,
My question
People
to that,
forget what a weird fucking game Perfect Dark was.
Though, but like,
Yeah.
my
I'm
thing
curious
is,
to
who-
see if they
who
go
is that-
grounded or
what
if
is
they have
that
a flying
perfect-
alien.
Who is that Perfect Dark game for? Like this new one. Who is that for?
that's the good question.
Yeah,
Because,
I
like,
don't know.
I don't know.
That's
I don't
their
think
quad A
Perfect
game?
Dark has aged well. The
That's
original.
their quad
No, it
A
hasn't.
game. Really? That's the one that they're doing. Like they're getting all the Naughty Dog people, all the Sony Santa Monica people. That's their quad.
What's
Perfect?
Yeah, I was gonna
Dark.
say,
I
what's the
gotta know.
quad A game? Is it Perfect Dark?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Perfect Dark.
That was their big like. Oh, we're gonna like shake the foundation.
It
Perfect.
just seems like a well, but CJ, here's the thing. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the whole thing about Killer Instinct when they were like, "Yeah, we're bringing back Killer Instinct."
But that wasn't advertised like the.
Except Killer Instinct turned out to be incredible and extremely popular and one of the better fighting games of the generation. So
I didn't
Like,
think it
that
was all
game's
that
huge.
popular.
That
yes,
game's huge.
dude.
Yeah.
It
You know
had
who would have made a
it-
banger
it's
Perfect
a
Dark
cult
game is
classic, it's not
Arcane.
popular.
it's pretty popular with the fighting game community. It had a slow like first like year or so, but as more seasons of content got added, like there are still like the fighting game community looks extremely fondly on
Your
that
Ender
Killer
said you had
Instinct
to buy
reboot.
characters though. What does he mean?
Oh, because it was free to play.
Because it was a free to play
Initially.
game where you bought
initially.
characters independently, or you could like buy the whole thing that got you all the characters at the start. Like it was a confusing method, which
Yes.
really put people off at first. But then by the time people were like in the game, and then they were just doing like, here's another season, you know, it kind of got past that.
Can
Wait,
I?
hold on. Something. Britt, go ahead, please.
No, I was just gonna say, can I like state why I think Fable would be an incredible adaptation right now?
Sure.
I think just based on how Fable 3 went, there was so much post game shit to do. Side quest and doing all of the instruments and crafting and shit like that. I think it would be a perfect little like what Harvest Harvestella was trying to be, was like an RPG plus, you know, like the farming sim, like Animal Crossing thing.
Yeah.
I think they could fucking nail it if they tried. You know, because Fable's fun and like silly and great, but it's like it's not memorable for its story, right? It's just like you kind of play through the story and then, you know, you do all the other stuff, and I think it'd be a perfect little mashup of what Harvestella tried to be. Like, you have the story game, and then you also have this farming game. Because in Fable 3, you can get married, you can have kids, you can adopt kids, you can go buy a house. Like, it's just the perfect little storm for them to make this perfect game that could really just bring a whole trail of new gamers to their console. I think you know, people that love Stardew Valley, people that love Animal Crossing, I think they could really get in and vibe with something like that.
So I guess my question is in a world where you have, like, you know, Starfield coming out, obviously, like, you know, older games but still relevant, like Skyrim, have come out on a million different systems. You've got games like, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. Is Fable still relevant?
I think.
Like,
I mean,
It can be. It easily
I think its
can be.
mission is to be relevant. It doesn't really matter what it was. They just need to come out with that new game and be like, you know, it's the slate. Like, it's been so long for Fable, and like the new generation just don't even know what it is. Like, I don't think it matters. It's not numbered. It doesn't have a lot of baggage. It could be whatever it wants to be, but that's its mission, is to be the game.
At the
Yeah,
very
there's no
worst,
reason it
it'll
can't be.
It'll be on Game. That's
well,
the thing.
let me frame the question like this. Then. Let me frame it like this then. Now that they've acquired Bethesda, do they need Fable? I mean, they've got Starfield and Elder Scrolls.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Like,
here's the thing: like, they still have Avowed coming out, right? Which is Obsidian. Is that Obsidian?
Yes.
see, I know
Avowed?
very little about
And
Avowed, so.
that's but like being positioned to be very in that same territory as like Elder Scrolls, right? Like, the reality of it is that you always have room for more, because people are both interested in the big brands, right? People are like Fable,
It's a
and
legacy title.
Skyrim, or fucking no, whatever the new Elder Scrolls game is going to be called,
Right.
will coexist, and so will Avowed. Like,
Well, and the new Elder Scrolls game is still like 10 years away. Like,
that
you know,
too.
games take so long to make. You can't just have one you can't just have one game. You need
That's-
lots.
That's why I couldn't play Skyrim, is because they took so long to release it that when it came out, I was like, this looks like something that should have came out on like the PS2. Like, this does not look like it should be on this
I
console.
fucking love Skyrim. I'm looking forward to Forza. That's it. My problem is this: like, Microsoft's in a weird place where it's like they're really trying hard to push a lot of stuff, or like Finn said, not push anything. They're also leaving behind their legacy titles behind. So it's only Halo, Forza, Gears, like the only three of their big IP that's like doing anything. So, and what do we have from that? Gears 5 came out, got good reviews. Its multiplayer is still active. No one's talking about that shit. I have never heard anyone talk about Hivebusters. The only people I know talk about are like the diehard like Gears fans. Halo Infinite, we've already talked about it to death. It came and went. Like the most depressing thing in the entire world to me. But that's how it is. Forza Horizon 5, good game, but that's like a different beast entirely, right? It's a very big casual game, and like a sea of they need some big AAA like hardcore, like something to appeal to.
They need
like,
some sad dads, is what CJ's saying.
They don't. I guess they kind of do, but yeah, that would suck.
Honestly,
That's my thing.
it wouldn't hurt Microsoft to have one of those prestige third-person sad dad games.
Wasn't that
That's what
wasn't that
fucking
Plague
Max
Tale?
Payne.
Plague Tale, but Plague Tale's different because it's
I
still
love
on other
Plague
consoles.
Tale.
Plague
Fuck, that's so
Plague
good.
Tale is literally fucking French The Last of Us. Like,
Yeah, that's yeah.
So good. I
Someone
love
clip
Plague
that.
Tale.
Plague Tale is literally French, The Last of Us.
it is,
Last
and I
of
stand
Us.
by that.
You know, Ellie, we
Ellie.
are the
Shut the
Last of
fuck up,
Us.
John.
These zombies don't smell as bad as Parisians.
I feel like a lot of the
Jesus
stuff I'm
Christ.
most excited for, like, obviously I'm really excited, I'm excited to see what happens with this Indiana Jones game from Machine Games, because I'm curious
Written
to see what
by
Machine Games
Todd
is up to.
Howard.
Look, man, I'm willing. I gotta give it a
I
chance.
forgot about that. Oh.
I gotta give it a chance. But also, like, I'm excited because here's the thing. I think a lot of stuff I
didn't know
want
that.
Do you not know about the Indiana Jones
they
game from the
announced
Wolfenstein devs?
No.
Just gonna
I know
suck.
about
I'm
that. I
one
didn't
with
know
that.
it was written by Todd Howard.
But like,
He's writing
there's
it?
also a matter of like, you've got studios who are working almost certain. Like, I want to see whatever the hell id is working on next, right?
Oh, they're
Doom
working on
Eternal.
their drama with Marty O'Donnell. No, Marty O'Donnell, the other guy. What's his name? Mick Gordon.
Yeah.
There's
I
your
want to
news.
see. It's like Hi-Fi Rush was great,
That's
but
Tango,
like
right?
Tango. Like Tango's working on Evil Within 3, and I
On
want to
what?
see that. I want to see that shit.
I saw
Like,
Twitter.
what?
They're working on Evil Within 3. They absolutely are.
Are we sure about that?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Why
They're
do you
working
say
on
that?
Evil Within
What makes you
3.
think that?
Because the guy and chunk of team that was behind Evil Within 2 have not been attached to Ghostwire or to Hi-Fi Rush, and they dropped a ton of love and references to the Evil Within in Hi-Fi Rush.
Flimsy evidence, but I will support you in this.
You know,
Derek, 'cause I would love to
here's my
see.
thing. You know, how wild it will be if
I would love
Xbox
to
had
see
their
an Evil Dead
own
3 or an Evil
had their
Within
own
3.
RE Village / RE like 4 remake. You know what I'm saying? You
Evil
know,
Within
wild that'll
2
be.
is so good, and Evil Within 3, y'all aren't ready for it.
Evil
It's gonna change the
Within
game.
3 or Evil Within or Jesus Christ, Evil Within 2 is a fucking horror classic. I love that game.
It's like what happens when people realize you can actually write good stories and characters in video games. But not to be a fucking snob, but goddamn,
You're right. You're right.
I should
yet
say
here
it.
you are.
He calls it when he calls it like he sees it.
I'm excited. I think the thing is, and Finn really nailed a lot of this very early in the discussion, honestly, which is for all that we were saying, and you know, supported by Jeff, right? Like, there's a lot of big projects on the way that have just been delayed due to a lot of circumstances, and a lot of this stuff is going to start hitting. And we're going to see a lot of this stuff in only a month. And you're going to get to see a lot of stories about, oh, well, Microsoft's big turnaround. And it's not going to be earned because this is always the path that it's been on. Sometimes you go through a dry spell, you know, before you start putting out the good shit again. You know, I think be skeptical. Right, be a little concerned, but I think there's been a lot of fanboy energy around discussions about Microsoft, and a lot of people who kind of smell blood in the water and want to see a big company bleed.
Social media has been just an absolute cesspool with that shit today.
So, you know,
Checks are going crazy.
Yeah.
Because you know, people looked at that interview where they were like, "Phil's admitting defeat." I'm sorry, Britt. What was that?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I like occasionally browse Twitter, but I'm glad I like focus on you guys so much that the other shit doesn't really pop in. And
You should focus on us all the time, Britt.
I do.
It always brightens my day when you pop up in my feed.
Me too. Me too.
Not me.
All right, let's.
All right, you fuck. We need to have a talk after
I
the
forgot.
podcast.
Caitlin wanted me to tell you that she says hi and you're her favorite.
Exactly. That's why you don't like me.
Oh no, not at my expense, at John's expense.
Which is fine. I'm nobody's favorite.
On Dagobah.
But Caitlin, pop him in the back of the head.
John says, "Give me a kiss."
No, that's not what I said.
Why would I?
At all. Caitlin, I said pop him in the back of the head.
Why would I kiss my husband?
Rude, I heard that.
Kiss my husband.
Rude. You can't take her
All right.
anywhere.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Hi, Caitlin. Let's go ahead and wrap this up because we're a few minutes over our deadline here.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we are going to be at the Final Fantasy 16 launch party on June 11th. It'll be me, Britt, Derek, and Finn. We're gonna have a really good time. We are extremely excited about this. Yeah, that's right. Get those sakis in chat. Spam those sakis in chat.
Spam that sake.
Guys, we also have a yeah, there they go. We have a Patreon. We don't gate any of our content, but every dollar you throw at us there helps us get to these conventions like the launch party, like PAX East and West, so we can provide you guys the all the coverage we can. So any dollar, and any dollar you can throw at us, is great. But again, don't feel like you're gonna miss out on anything we're doing because we don't gate any of our content. We just appreciate you being here in chat more than anything else. And we also have a Discord that you can see in chat right there. We got about 400 people in there. It's always very active. And it's actually active at like 3 a.m. because we have people who are literally all over the world in our Discord. So like I'll wake up and I'm like, who the fuck is talking it here at 2
am up at 3 a.m. because I am unemployed.
All right, everyone. We greatly appreciate your time. Derek, I have one question for you. Are you doing another Final Fantasy V stream?
I'm holding off because of a thing that a mutual friend of ours has contacted me about involving Final Fantasy V.
Ah, yes, I know.
So I'm gonna save myself.
I know what you're talking about.
So
okay.
But I am gonna stream maybe this weekend, maybe not. We're gonna see. I am gonna do a stream where I sit down with the entire franchise roster of Street Fighter and rate them as whether or not they deserve to come back for Street Fighter 6.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that.
It'll be good time. Good time. Just low energy. We're gonna show up, chill out. I'm gonna say some hot takes.
Like anything you do could be low energy.
Correct.
Correct. Right. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back here next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We appreciate you all. And remember, kindness costs nothing. We'll see you next week.